All right guys, check it out. So I was taking a shower and I was like, where's my truck at? I don't see it. So obviously it's snowing out. Okay, look at this. It slid from here and now it's blocking the entire road. I'm glad I actually looked out my window because a lot of times my blinds are closed. This is super scary. I had my parking brake on. One thing my mom taught me though when I first learned to drive, when you're parked down a hill or anything, turn your wheels so you go that way. Otherwise, would have went way down there, who knows, off of there, into the other waterfall over there. That's crazy. Something to note here is I wasn't planning on driving this until tomorrow. Embarrassing enough, it's only a rear wheel drive, not four-wheel drive. I'm not even supposed to be up here on this mountain, but I saw that it was gonna be super warm all week, just not today and tomorrow. So it'll be interesting trying to pull out of here. Oh my gosh. And I'm stuck in the middle of the road. All right, I'll see you guys in a minute. I gotta fix this. Okay, I'm circling back around. Let's try to park this thing. There's my two couches right there. So I'm glad it happened to me just like here instead of it being a guest or us falling off the other side of the cliff there. What do y'all think? Is that enough? Now look, someone else is stuck. Dang, that sucks. You're gonna have to back up so far to get some traction.
Alright, so once you walk in this front door, you're just surrounded by all these coats. So we're going to clean up this entryway closet, make it just absolutely beautiful, and a place where we could tuck all the coats away. I'll be making this out of the cheapest wood possible from any of your local home improvement stores. We have 2x4s, 1x4s, and a big piece of butcher block type material. You can clearly see that the paint job here is done. We have a Greek vanilla up top, or Greek villa, something like that, and then some kind of bluish green down below. My mom had already taken care of that. These rails that I'm fastening up here right now is actually what's going to be holding the coat hooks, and it's just going to look so good. I'm working on the bench here, and this is made out of 2x4s, which are just fastened together, fastened to the walls. Then I'm gonna lag bolt it into the walls, and I'm using construction screws and all that, so this is built to last. And then once I put the actual bench top on top of this, I'm gonna use another lag bolt for the face of it. So this whole thing will it'll hold 10 people. I had a friend over at this time and we went on this little snowboarding trip for a couple days. And while he was here, we decided to take off some of this carpet, and we're very pleasantly surprised that there was not really any subfloor damage in any of these main rooms except for the very first one, which I sprayed with vinegar. But pulled up the carpet and then pulled up about 1 million, 2 million staples, something like that. No big deal.
One of the very first things we noticed when walking into this house during the first walkthrough and inspection was the very creaky floors. So we're getting new floors in, right? But that doesn't solve the creaky subfloor problem. You're just adding a new layer on top of that problem. So what we're doing is screwing this in with some 8-gauge, 2.5-inch wood construction nails. And the important part here is, it's probably not gonna clear up, but there's a flat piece here and then the threaded part. This flat piece here, the part without threads on it, is very important because that's what actually grabs onto the wood and helps pull it towards the joist under the floor. But look, check out how squeaky this is. I'm hoping it comes out on camera, but I'm just gonna put a little bit of pressure here. See, there's that spot that's really bad. And then this spot. And that's just my hand. Think about a full-grown adult walking on this. So I'm gonna drive in these screws and then bring you out to the results. Okay, now I'm done screwing all these in. I hope you can hear what it was before, because now you probably shouldn't hear anything. Nothing. It's gonna take a ton of screws to do this correctly, but I'm basically putting one, I got a phone call, next to almost every single screw or previous nail that was there. That was the roofer. We have a ton of leaks in our beautiful ceilings here, so we got a bunch of quotes coming in. So yeah, I'm putting screws next to pretty much every single nail that's here, and especially on the seams, and that way, now I'll come back and hammer some of the nails that are some of the older nails. But yeah, see, that's what the creaking is coming from, is the wood is actually rubbing against the older nails as the nails get loose. That plywood has wiggle room, and it's kind of just rubbing against the nail there. So we're fixing that. Random project number 3047. We had to take the fridge out, disconnect the line so they could put in the floors here, and they charge like $100 just to disconnect the water line. But it turns out how they hook it up under the sink is with something called a saddle valve, which is this weird thing that you just clamp onto any already set pipe, copper pipe, and it punctures a needle into it and just makes a pinhole into it, and so that way you can run water off into a different direction. But you can never really turn it off or back on ever again. Once it's punctured, it's pretty much set. You look it up online, everyone talks about how much garbage they are. I had to cut it out completely, run to the store and get these little shark bite connectors so you can see it's a continuation, but then with a little 1/4 inch T off there so I can hook up the water line. This thing alone is $20. And then I have to get my actual valve itself, which is another 10. And I could have soldered all this, but it's a quick project, and actually they didn't even have the T in a soldered connection anyways. Pretty annoying, but it's just one of the many projects that I don't actually display on video most of the time because there's just too many.
Some things you're not really seeing in the series is these nightstands here that I built for both bedrooms. I built a couple of headboards. I'm building this, or I guess just kind of cutting and staining this backsplash for the master bathroom that I put in. I framed the mirror that you can see right there too with some black pine. You know, there's so much stuff in this house that installing the sink, things like that. There's so much stuff in this house that just kind of goes unnoticed, but it's too hard to make a full video with every single detail. So instead I'm doing one big video, this one here, that just kind of encompasses everything. And not even everything, but a good 75% of what I've done. And just to provide one more level of detail here, this bed that I'm pushing now in real life, now that it's spring, ants are falling from the roof and landing on the bed. So it's just one problem after another that we just have to overcome.
So I know y'all think this is probably the best painting you've ever seen. Yeah, it's cute. But check this out. Boom. That's an actual painting painted by a friend. Let's do some close-ups. I'll have more shots of this and everything else in this house once we get more furnishings in this cabin. But if you are interested in her paintings, I'll actually drop her email down in the description below so you can reach out and request something from her because she does some really awesome work.
Now that the installers put the carpet in, it's time to start building some furniture, which is a huge step forward. And then here I'm making some custom windowsills for the downstairs room. Since I replaced all the windows down there, I'm actually going to stain these into a golden oak, or I guess I did an early American. Either way, they just came out absolutely beautiful. And if you're gonna do something like this, remember to slope it a little bit down outside of your room, so that way if any water does get up here, it slopes not towards the window, but down into the room. I was a little nervous to frame the inside of this window just because I've never really done it before, and it takes some intricate cuts, or I guess it takes some ripping of the wood to get it lined up perfectly. But I actually managed to use a couple of 1x2s which almost fit, and then I came back with a little bit of quarter round to fill in the gaps. And here I'm putting the trim on the outside of the window, but all of this just came out great in the end. So I'll definitely keep doing this myself. And any rook can really install baseboards or this kind of trim around doors and stuff. It's very simple. You can see this cut right here just fit like a freaking glove. Although I have done baseboards and stuff like this before, but it's always been easy. And I have my little helper in town again today, so she's painting some of the exterior trim for me. And finally, the couch arrived. 2 months late, but hey, we didn't have floors in anyway, so it really arrived just on time for us. They're super easy to set up, and we got the whole HGTV karate chop down for these pillows here. So I think we have a future in this investment business for sure. And we've made mountains like this before for our own personal houses, and we just absolutely love them. So of course we had to bring it here to the actual mountains. And then here's the other couch that came with the love seat. And this whole place is coming right together. This is going to be one of the very last videos, right? Everything is almost done here. As you can see, we just have really a final walkthrough, maybe some financing videos, things like that. I had debated making an entire landscaping video, but what you see here is what it used to look like back here, and then we've really just cleaned it up. Starting on day one, when I had my brother-in-law in town, we cleaned up a great view over to this little creek that's rushing over here. This alone had increased the value of our house significantly. You can even get a clean view of the waterfall way in the distance, which you can't see here, but here's a great shot of the creek itself. And then when we actually get done with this whole outside area, we're gonna have a hot tub potentially. We're going to have pavers and a path going down to the creek, and really just making this a great inviting place to be at. But that's for a long future date. We're gonna be working on that all summer, as well as painting the house and stuff. So there may be an outside video before long, but for now, we're just gonna leave it for this little segment. So we're thinking about making the path with the steps here and going around this way. Cut these all out, but still go around downhill that way, and then keep this kind of a natural area. I think that'd be really nice. Both ways to get to the stream. So most of the water, if you can hear me right now over the waterfall over there, most of the water runs down and doesn't actually go towards the house because there's like a trench, but it all comes through here, which I dug that trench, but still most of it runs down alongside the house and is washing away a lot of the dirt. So I need to do something with some berms or retaining walls to cut across, maybe put a step down so people can still walk through there. Refigure out this decking situation. I think eventually we're going to try to move the staircase instead of coming this way, go that way and cut the deck short a little bit. Perfect. Got our concrete bags, and on these pavers specifically, we're going to use some rebar to really firm them up into the ground because they are stepping stones. They're on a steep hill near the water over there. We're not going to put rebar on the retaining wall necessarily because it's less important, and we're double stacking those, and it's going to be good. Never done this before, so we'll see how it all turns out by the end of this video. But the logic is the rebar will hold it into the ground, and I'm trying to puncture the rebar far enough to where it doesn't stick out of the concrete once it dries up. Also, I'm using the 80 pounds of concrete for the steps for these pavers, but up on the retaining wall, I'm just using the 50-pound bags. It's $1 cheaper. It doesn't need to be as girthy. Now, I don't want these to ice over either, so I am like kind of hammering them so it would give it texture so it's not as slick. The other technique I'm doing is
It doesn't really look like it on this one. I may need to add more, but I'm leaning them backwards so you're more on your heel when you walk down them than your toes. Because again, I don't want people sliding downhill. This is for a rental property. It's a cabin, hoping to Airbnb it. So I want this to be tenant proof and I don't want to get sued, right? So this retaining wall under the house isn't really going to get rain on it anytime soon. So I'm going to go ahead and water it down and speed up the process. It is our very last week here at the house, besides decorating and things like that. But we're taking pictures tomorrow and about to post them online. And we just have this deck issue that we've had since day one that we still need to figure out. It sags whenever you walk across it. And so, you know, every time we've walked in this house with anything heavy on our shoulders, it just keeps like bouncing and it's getting really, really weird. So I have to fix that before we have people actually staying here. They will not feel comfortable walking on this. But I bought a bunch of 2x6s and lumber, and this alone, this right here, not including that paint came from somewhere else, $265 just for a few pieces of wood right now because the prices of materials are so inflated. So I'm gonna try to figure out how to prop up this deck without replacing the top planks like I had originally planned. We're gonna mess around with this. I have this little jack here. So I'm gonna jack it up, I think, and just try to re-support it for a couple years until we get a full deck replacement. Until we're rich enough to hire all this stuff out. We're also having some issues right under the front door where you kick off your dirt. And then this post isn't even attached at all. I shouldn't really be messing with it. But it's not attached up top, and it's definitely not attached down here. So I am building up a little bit of a retaining wall so I can start holding dirt back. I'm gonna replace these two posts here probably in a month or right before we get this place actually rented. So even though we're done with this house, we're gonna start listing it for about 3 or 4 weeks out. And so during that time, we could do little tweaks and stuff, which will include re-supporting those posts. It's a beautiful 60 degrees out here today, though. It's amazing. All the snow is probably gone for the rest. Actually, there's snow in the forecast. So let's do this today. This is where I'm at. Don't mind the crooked bottle jack there. So I have some propped up posts here just in case. It's not permanent, it's just for my protection. But I have this dug out under here. I have a little flat spot dug out. And what I'm gonna do is line up these concrete bags. I'm gonna stack some up here and double up. So I just create a nice, good retaining wall behind there. And then I'll backfill it with more dirt. So this whole front part is hovering, and yet it's still actually very stable just because of this 2x4 and that post. So once I get this figured out, I'm thinking I can just put some real posts here and that should do the trick. So 3 posts, maybe a few more joist hangers, reconnect everything. Much better than replacing each one of these planks. There's 9 planks there. Planks cost about $13 where I'm at. And then the longer ones are 15. So you could just imagine that's 150 to 200 just on lumber alone. Just for the top, not including the joists and the posts. So I think we can do this, ghetto rig it for a little bit.